Hey, what's up, guys? Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound. So, unceremoniously, I wanted to talk about the 50th anniversary of the coin you see on screen here, 1975 Denver Jefferson nickel. Now, why did I isolate just a Denver coin? That's a really great question. I'm willing to bet some of you are probably interested in knowing what makes this particular coin a whole lot more special than anything else made. Of course, during this time, the U.S. Mint was kind of prepping for kind of like what we're prepping today. We're in 2025, therefore the 50th anniversary. They were prepping for the bicentennial release. 1976 was the big year, 200 years celebrated of the country. And as you guys know, there were a few coins that were not produced in 1975, namely the quarter, the half dollar, and the dollar coin. At the time was the Eisenhower big dollar copper nickel clad coin. So those three were never produced with a 1975 date. So all we had really during this time are the Lincoln cent, the nickel, and the dime. Three, albeit incredibly extraordinary coins. That's right, I said that. Extraordinary, which means they weren't special at all. You could make the argument that most of the coins during the 70s, nobody really gave a damn about them. A lot of them were used and abused, saved up BU rolls were few and far between. They were kind of a rarity, and you could pick any date of your choosing. Now, there has actually been more saved up BU rolls of the earlier 70s dates of coins, nickels, Lincoln cents, especially. Considering that there was only 50 cents face value, those things were really easy to save up, but we have $2 worth of nickels here. And, $2 still had quite a bit of buying power in 1970. Or maybe even 1975, you name it. So there was really not a whole lot of reasons to save the coin. However, it wasn't until about 20 years ago, give or take, that collectors and cherry pickers now have a reason to look through their 1970s coins. One particular coin stands out above the rest, and that's why we're showing the 1975 Denver Jefferson nickel. This is going to be the main subject topic of this video. You guys are not going to want to miss it. The coin that we're going to talk about in question has risen in such profane popularity that most examples, sell for hundreds of dollars. And even to this day, not too many people know about them, which kind of makes them, makes them more of a folklore coin. With it's like being able to find a real life unicorn out in the wild, like for real, legit. And I think now these days, and there's a public auction sale that has come to light here a few years ago that really gave this coin its flowers. All right, and we're excited to talk about this coin here today. Now, you could pick most states within the 1970s. Now, considering that you had your opportunity to find Philadelphia coins, which had no physical mint mark on them. Denver coins obviously have the Denver mint mark. And there were a few dates that had San Francisco. It was the late 60s. Late 60s, Jefferson nickels had S mint marks. 1970 was, I believe, the only year of this decade with a physical San Francisco mint mark that was produced in San Francisco. Otherwise, all the other coins were proof struck, and they would have an S mint on there. But oftentimes you'll come across your coins, they're going to look like this. It's like, what's really the only reason to collect these other than to fill a hole in an album and then move on from it? It's a coin that most people, if you had to go to a coin shop to pick one up because you need it for an album, it'll run you back, 20, 25 cents, and some would say that that's a ripoff, but it is what it is. Coin shops need to make a few bucks here and there as well. So in this particular instance, many years later, again, mid circa 2000s, 2005, 6, 7, somewhere around there, there's been some preliminary buzz regarding the placement of the mint marks on these 1970s nickels. And it's only the nickels. You won't find them on any other denomination. This is a 1971D. Now you're going to notice that the Denver mint mark is placed a lot lower than the previous coin. Considering that is a lot lower, it's really gotten the attention of a lot of collectors into thinking that this might be something that we need to possibly have a conversation about. And the conversation did happen all across forum chat pages, social media, coin platforms. Wasn't too prominent, back in the mid 2000s, but those forum chat pages like Coin Talk, Coin Community, Collectors Universe, which is a PCGS forum, they were talking about all the newest hits and trends. This was one of them here. Now, a lot of the buzz and the talk amongst these seasoned collectors, they're going to tell you that the placement is irrelevant on the coin or on this nickel. So the vernacular that came up quite often was it's within the mint tolerances. So, you guys need to know, of course, that prior to 1989, mint employees tapped in the mint mark onto the working dies. The working dies eventually, as its name implies, does all the work. It produces the coins, it mints the coins. They're the dies that get beat up. And then, once they become what they call a terminal state, when the dies are deteriorated or they're showing a lot of die cracks or, things of that nature, they're going to retire those dies or repair them and then put in a new fresh set of working dies. So with each fresh new set of working dies, and let's just go ahead and use the Denver Mint, for example, they have to tap in the mint mark into that area. Now, the area in which the mint mark usually sits in on a Jefferson nickel is actually a right good size area, sitting between Jefferson's ponytail and the date. There's a lot of room for like adjustment and error here. But it really is up to the mint employee to determine, what they feel is comfortable with the placement of the mint mark. Sometimes it's a little bit low, and other times it's a little bit on the outside. Like if a pitcher threw a pitch on the outside, that's what we have here. This is a 1975D, incredibly high-placed mint mark. To the point where it's that little kind of channel between Jefferson's bow, not the ponytail, but the actual bow part of his hair, and the final digit of the date. This one, ladies and gentlemen, caught a whole bunch of tidal wave of attention in the community, to the point where some of the big error attribution experts like Fred Weinberg really got the attention of this coin and put it onto the map. And to this day, it's those old head error attribution people like Weinberg, who I believe has retired from the hobby. He's sold quite a few of his coins on heritage auctions, which we'll take a look at. A couple of them happen to be the 1975 misplaced D Jefferson nickel. And now all of a sudden, a new just chaser piece is born. And I call it a chase. This one is a real chase. It's not a coin that, say, is out there in large numbers. As a matter of fact, I don't think the mint really produced a whole lot of them. It's been speculated a few thousand were ever produced and then sent out into circulation, which really meant that it's going to be a very limited release all around. And as a result, so few of them have been found that it really drove the prices of these individual coins to some pretty obscene levels for what it is. Now, keeping, again, 50 years ago, these coins really had no fanfare. And then now all of a sudden, with the discovery of just a weird placement of the mint mark, now all of a sudden these coins have been thrusted into numismatic lore and, a primary piece for a lot of roll hunters out there that like to go through nickels. Now, nickels these days, it doesn't serve a whole lot of purpose for the collecting scene. Unless you're lucky enough to find a silver war nickel between 42 and 45. You might be lucky and find a 50D in there, which some people have found. I found mine about 18 years ago, going through bankrolls of nickels, 3090, and a few other tougher dates. But outside of that, it's a relatively quote unquote ho hum series to go through. And the big reason why that nickels, even to this day, aren't considered like a primary prospect for roll hunters. People tend to gravitate toward half dollars or quarters and Lincoln cents for like its silver content, for the copper, for more varieties than what the nickels would show. So, this is the coin, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to be talking about here today. Now, it kind of helps to know the coin in itself and how much it's progressed over the years. So we had one coin that sold on eBay, which is this one on PCGS's website. It turns out it's an NGC graded XF40. And guess what? They had put misplaced mint mark right on the holder. So it's a legitimate variety today. And not only that, it's been assigned. I would say this is a new recent assignment within, I'd say, the last like 3-4 years. FS401. And the reason why that is relevant today is that's a cherry picker's guide variety. When a variety gets its name into the cherry picker's guide, and this one isn't in there yet, but in a future edition they will add it. And generally, when they put in an FS listed catalog number to a variety or a new variety, and it's not yet in the cherry picker's guide, its time will be coming here real soon. Now, we got to figure that a new cherry picker's guide is released about every 10 years, give or take. So this one we won't see probably until the end of the decade. I'm sure I'll still be around to talk about it, but hey, let's talk about it right now. Now, this particular example sold for $750. Might I remind you the grade XF40, which is kind of like a standard run-of-the-mill, found right out of circulation and into our hearts coin. There is really nothing really fancy about the coin other than the variety type being the misplaced mint mark. But you'll see here that this one sold on eBay February 2nd, 2019. All right, so that is already 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, these coins were starting to get hot. And yeah, it's pretty incredible to think that, this particular variety was born on one of the most unspectacular dates in coinage, bar none. 1975, I would say, is a very boring date all the way around. Now, because of like sales of this, it's also spawned other people to find some other coins similar to it. Okay, not just the 1975D coin, but folks have been finding weird, different mint mark placements on other dates as well. 71D, a low place mint mark. We're going to talk more about that. Is a grading company attributing misplaced mint marks on all dates, or is it just a 75D high mint mark? Here's another trio pack with actually a low mint mark and a high mint mark for $300. Here's a 1970, a date that wasn't even on the radar for a lot of collectors. A high-placed mint mark, but not quite as high as the 75D for $160. But you could see there's actually one of those 75Ds, the big one, the FS401, $395. This one is the king of kings of misplaced mint mark, Jefferson Nichols. So that's why those particular coins have a much higher value, aside from all the other dates that you could find, the variances of different misplaced mint marks. $395. We have another one here, looks legit. $395.76. The top one has 22 watchers. So there's some relevancy there because there's a lot of people watching that particular auction, either to buy it later on or to see if it sells for $395. We've already seen some sales of the misplaced D coin, and the prices have been out of this world, Here's another 70D with a low placement mark. Here's a graded example, an XF45 for $1,125. Does that seem like it's a lot of money? It does say best offer, so you could put in an offer. You know, if it's reasonable to that seller, they might accept it. What that number is completely a mystery to me. But keeping in mind, this one is graded half a point higher than the XF40 that we saw sell on eBay back in 2019. So the pricing may not be too far out in left field on that one. But you can see 73D. There's a low placement mark there for $100. And then onward, and there's a lot of them, and people are starting to recognize this all across the spectrum. Now, the real question is going to be, will graders just attribute misplacement mark on all these coins? And the quick answer is no. No, they're not. As of right now, the grading companies, specifically like PCGS, we know NGC does it because we saw that coin on PCGS's website with the FS401 number. But PCGS specifically have assigned two particular dates with a misplaced mint mark. However, you can only get one of them today if you sent a coin out to the grading company. We'll look at that here in a moment. But you can see there's quite a few here, and then you're going to have some other mint errors and things like that. But from what we've seen, the placement on the mint marks is all across the map. But if you talk to a mint employee today, they're just going to tell you that it's in a normal spot. Some are going to be a little bit low, some are going to be a little bit high. The one particular coin, the 75D, is so far high on there that one has gained a lot more of the attention above all the rest. There have been more misplaced mint marks on a lot of these Jefferson nickels that, to this point, they're seeing it as just normal placement. So, keeping that in mind, the grading companies aren't going to assign misplacement mark on any coin that feels like, oh man, this thing's way low on this one. But you can see that a lot of people are being very intuitive, and they're recognizing that this is a thing today. Here's that one XF45. As of right now, and kind of going back to the very beginning of the video, how a lot of these coins were never saved up in the highest state of preservation. Mint state examples of this coin are incredibly rare, if not unique. There have been no known examples of the high mint mark misplaced 1975D in mint state condition as far as I know. So that's going to be a huge chaser. How much that coin could be worth in the future if one was discovered is a huge mystery. All I can tell you is it's probably going to be worth more than $1,000. How much more higher than that is really anybody's guess. The market ultimately dictates what the value is on these coins. All right, so Fred Weinberg, like I had said, had sold a number of these on Heritage. As a matter of fact, back in 2022, this was when he was selling his collection, getting out of the business. He doesn't attribute too many things these days anymore, unless it's like the homie hookup type of deal. So you gotta know somebody that knows Fred himself, and then he could help out. As much of a big presence I am on YouTube, even I don't know him. I've met him once in forum chat pages long ago, but he doesn't know me from Adam. So, but here are a few examples here. So, like I had mentioned, there were two dates that PCGS was attributing with the misplacement mark moniker on them. 71D is one of them. However, you cannot get this coin graded if you had a misplaced mint mark. You cannot get a 71D with a low mint mark attribution on there. And the big reason why is that this particular coin, I mean, look how low the mint mark is. But again, 71D is very common with a low mint mark. I've even actually found a few of them myself. Haven't really given it any thought. But you're going to notice on this one, because it's a Fred Weinberg sale, it's actually all of his collection, that these have a special label on them by PCGS. This is, you heard me say homie hookup. Fred Weinberg knows a lot of people in PCGS, and they actually did him a favor by attributing these with the misplaced mint mark. Outside of that, PCGS will not attribute any of the other people, even myself included, with this particular attribution. Now, these have a little bit of extra special zing to them because they also have an improperly annealed planchet. They're just overheated and they just cause like discoloration to the planchet themselves. So it's a dual kind of like variety error mashup here on these, but you're going to see that not just anybody can get a special label like Mr. Weinberg got on these coins. So it's worth noting that, these have a little baked in kind of provenance to it. And again, there is a few 71D improperly annealed coins that sold during this event. Here's his big one, the 75D, that graded out XF40 with his Fred Weinberg label. As you can tell, this one right here, has has a lot of circulation wear. Now that we know that there's one that's a grade higher, in theory that other one should be worth a little bit more. But this one right here sold here in 2022 in May for $1,080. When we look at that eBay listing from 2019, that one sold for $750. So again, probably the Fred Weinberg's provenance kind of kicked this one up to the next level because they are identical grades, and they are also identical coins. The 75D misplaced mint mark high, which is, as we know, is the now the cataloged FS401 in there. And there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's got his own custom label and all that great stuff on there. Again, a very unspectacular coin by grade. But the variety, just cannot be understated. It's a very rare one. Because of that, these things are very, very expensive. The couple that have sold, there is even a 73D in here, guys, that sold. Another Weinberg one. But this one grades out AU55. Sold for $216. So the 73D, if you had one of these and you send them off to PCGS and say, hey, this is a misplaced mint mark, they're going to say no. They're not going to grade it with that attribution on there. And that, they may not even specify the Weinberg piece. Or if you get, someone who really knew about this collection, they're going to say that was a one-time exception for one of the distinguished clients of, the grading company. So, just thought I'd let you know. Don't take it personally because I'm not. Fred Weinberg is the big guy. He goes back many years in the numismatic error scene, and he deserves his flowers on this one. So, just thought I'd let you guys know. There was another 75D misplaced. This one XF45 PCGS. And here is what, ladies and gentlemen, just because this one right here is an XF45, it's actually better than the Fred Weinberg piece. It just doesn't have the custom label, as you can see there. Here's what the difference of a provenance and, a year's difference makes. This one sold for $372, half a grade point higher. The Weinberg piece sold for $1,080 with the Weinberg label. It's crazy. And like I said before, they have a lot of liquidity now that they are affirmed to be a cherry picker's guy variety with that Favaz Stanton number. These things are going to be a lot more desirable in the future. And that race to find that first AU condition coin, or let alone a mint state example, is going to be a hot, intense kind of search. It is. It already is today. As much as you guys don't know anything about this coin behind the scenes, there are chasers out there that are looking for a mint state example of this coin, and it's speculated it could go maybe as high as 5 figures if it has full steps. So there you go. That's what I wanted to talk about on this one. The saga of the 1975D misplaced mint mark and all the history that surrounds it. A very gradual, quick attribution, discovery, Again, as recently as about 20 years ago, Weinberg was actually looking for this a little bit earlier than that. But, there were even a couple other people. Q. David Bowers was actually looking for a mid-state example of this very coin and had like $1,000 bounty on it back in like 2008. So that's when kind of the hunt was like beginning to take off. More people were very aware of the coin, and the hunt amplified a huge deal in the hopes of finding an example. And it didn't matter if it was that mid-state example that Q. David Bowers was looking for, or just an example that at the time had a value of about $100 or less. It's since took off since then, as you can see from the market and how many people are looking for these. So I hope you guys liked the video, and if you guys are hunting these, I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck. If you do come across a mid-state example, your boy Blue needs to know about it. Go ahead and comment down below if you had found one of these. They are quite neat coins. I'm not actively personally pursuing them myself. I don't coin roll hunt nickels. I should really do that, but in the hunt of like 2024 in Denver, Jefferson Nichols, I don't know. We'll see. You guys take care. Happy hunting. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. Subscribe to my channel. And if you haven't done so already. All right. I will see you guys later. And take care. Peace.